our next speaker is actually going to talk about a pretty interesting concept. We've seen a lot of people talking here from a consulting background. People in red teams, in blue teams, talking about how to do different things. Even full blown purple teams talking about how to do purple teaming in an organization. We do have Emra with us now, who's actually going to talk about a vendor view. What do you get when you're actually looking at the attack evaluations? How does that work, and how can you come together as a team to actually do purple work together? So I'm really excited about this one. I'm pretty curious to see what's going to happen, what Emra is going to share with us, because it's a different take at purple teaming. So without further ado, Emra, I'll let you do your introduction and get started. So thanks a lot, and talk to you all very, very soon.
Yeah, today's topic is Gone in 66 Seconds. Yes, I'm that old. The Nicolas Cage Gone in 60 Seconds. Yeah, hey, hello everyone. I happen to be a product manager for the content at ArcSight at Micro Focus, and we are not going to talk about that today, no. But yes, we will talk about that a little bit because of the competition that we entered in, and just so going through the, I guess, agenda quickly, we will get rid of the elephant in the room, and then we will talk about the truth and nothing but the truth. If anyone remembers Brutal Truth, Sounds of the Animal Kingdom, that's my favorite album, heavy metal lovers. And we'll talk about the mission. I'd like to almost think about our content team as the minions, and I gave them that mission, and they were a little bit bored in that cave because I don't want to say they lost their leader, but sure, if I was the chosen one to lead them to their destination, I believe I chose the right mission, which was the attack evaluations, which happened to be the road less traveled because we were the only SIEM within this 29 vendor ecosystem. I guess 28 of them were XDR or EDR vendors. And some people are asking me, really, an evaluation is, it says evaluation in the name. So was it a real world test? Well, heck yeah. I don't think it could get any more real world than that. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And we accepted the challenge, and my team actually showed how it should be done. And I thought I was certified ethical hacker. No, I was completely mistaken. My team completely believed it from my perspective, believe it out of the water from a correlation rule perspective. Again, that's not the topic. I'd like to talk about the lessons learned today. What motivated the team? How we did the red teaming versus blue teaming? Was there a purple team? What's the main benefit from entering such a competition? Does anything else help the team if you have a team to motivate? So we are all human. We need motivation in our lives. And probably that part of my, I guess, let's say, psychology got boosted, and I learned a lot from this. And I learned to take my hands off the team and let them do their work, and I was enjoying it. Again, the elephant in the room is, hey, Emra, you're going to do talking about your product here. That's not the point, but so that everyone knows, yes, ArcSight is the SIEM that I'm be managing the content for. So if you are interested, we can talk about some of the correlation aspects of these things in an effort to make the world a safer place in overall. And we can't ignore it. That's why I wanted to show it. And so we built intelligent software to empower the SOCs, and I don't believe SIEMs are no longer necessary. So there's some, SIEM 1.0 and all those things, which we will touch a little bit. SIEMs does an amazing job of allowing SIEM to be that last defending, castle in terms of protecting your environment. Again, when I took over at ArcSight, we needed rocket engineers, rocket scientists to make the content work. The correlation can be cool, but if you need so many people to touch it and so that it functions properly, that was a mistake. And that was that mindset that we were trying to break. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get that simplicity into the minds of the team. And, we failed more than a couple of times. And that's why I'd like to say that this is the truth and nothing else but the truth. And yes, I'd like to talk about technology, but 30 minutes probably won't cut it. So we won't talk about technology, even though I really wanted to. And yes, we can get technical APTs and, actors and MITRE tactics and techniques. But I guess today we will be more talking about the human element. What motivates the humans? What is that single thing that I can show it to them and where they can think, Emrah, really, we had so many product managers in the past. Are you really going to teach us anything? Well, I was trying to do that in a helpful manner. And I think this thing helped me achieve that build that trust with the team as well as a team manager. So I gave them, I wouldn't say a toy, but a real mission to put our, I guess, product to the test, and that motivated and brought the team together. And yes, without further ado, the mission was the attack evaluations round 3. I'm sure many of the people on the call today would know that attack evaluations was in actually its 3rd year last year, where they try to test the defenses of these security vendors to make the world a better place. And they try to do this objectively. You don't need me to tell you this, but maybe you don't know it. That's why I'm going to say it. It takes 2 days of attack, relentless 8-hour days, actually 12-hour days, to be honest. A red team from MITRE Ingenuity attacks your product, and you are supposed to defend your product. Of course, you have enough months to prepare for it, but you're not told exactly which tool will be used. You are told which techniques will be used. So I thought it was quite objective from that perspective. And round 1 happened a couple of years ago. Round 2 happened actually 2019. As you can see, 12 participants and then 21. And then last year it was 29, almost like 50% increase every year. So you can see the snowball effect of this thing, in my opinion, becoming the standard in the industry for testing the efficacy of the security tools. And it wasn't the road less traveled because we were the only true SIEM vendor, and I'm not trying to say this with any pun intentions or any other thing, but we didn't have any EDR, any machine learning in place for multiple reasons. We only used correlation rules. And is that important? I think a little bit it's important because if you look at the participants, and I admire them all, they used EDR as their underlying technology, and we didn't have that. Heck, Windows Defender was disabled, even though Windows 10 was one of the main protected endpoints. So we had to come up with really unique protection methods like PowerShell and Sysmon. And I'm not going to go too technical, but yes, we did find quite interesting tools to look at the processes and other kernel level stuff as well. But then, yes, we did feel alone a little bit. And it is important that you remember there were 66 techniques, which is the title of my presentation. In that evaluation, this is the Windows endpoints section, Carbanak and FIN7, blue and red, and then the yellow, which is the common denominator between those 2 threat actors. And then Linux was the first time added into the system this year. The results of this thing got actually released in April 20th, I believe, a month ago. And you will probably enjoy looking at the results as well. And in my opinion, the moment we decided to participate in this competition, the time bomb started ticking because we had to come up with correlation rules. And before I start that though, these threat actors that we were being tested against, along with the 29 other vendors, one of them was FIN7. I'd like to think about them as the Billy the Kid, one of the most infamous, I guess, Wild West gunmen in the history. And if you actually are a fan of MITRE ATT&CK Conference, ATT&CK 2.0, Nationwide made a really good presentation. They found finance threat actors, and they found that FIN7 was at the top right of this heat map in comparing their interest in financial sector, which had a 4.5 out of 5, as well as their capability, which also received 4.5 out of 5. So they were quite powerful, and in the financial sector, they had quite a lot of interest. So I believe MITRE Ingenuity also picked a nice threat actor in order to do a financial level, financial focused test. The second threat actor they picked was Carbanak, and I'm probably sure everyone on this call knows Carbanak. There is a Carbanak 2.0 right now, if you're that was news to me. And there is a tool called Carbanak. And so these guys have done quite a bit of things in the past, 1 billion stolen. This is thanks to Kaspersky doing a really good research on them. And if you go to that page, apt-securelist.com, if I'm not mistaken, you would find out that these guys are still active in 2021, and they are doing quite a number of things, which I will show a little bit, and which should make it obvious that I'm not talking about a team and R&D lab trying to make this test between vendors. No, this is as real as it can get. So moving forward, I did my own research before the presentation of going to that APT list from Kaspersky, real world. This is the 12, just I picked 12 randomly. And from this 12, which are the finance targeting threat actors in 2021, I just picked 6, just to make it a little easier to visualize. And if you really wanted to put them on a wheel of fortune like this, okay, that's not easy to focus maybe, but if you maybe focus on the top right quadrant of this circle, you will find that I actually tried to put the common denominator techniques that these guys use into this package. And it seems T1059, and I'm going to make it easier for you, T1018, all those techniques were shared between those 6 or 3 or 5 from that 6 real-world threat actors. So not trying to make it look like, oh my God, this is the toughest thing on the planet. Actually, it does look easy, right? There are 5 common denominator techniques of this bad finance targeting actors. Well, think twice. Those techniques are parent techniques. They have sub-techniques. So we are talking about something like 35 sub-techniques to focus on. So this is generally how you do your maturity assessment or your phased approach SOC deployments, if you are into SOC deployments and phased approaches. And generally, I think this is a good way of understanding what to focus on. You need to pick your threat actor and then pick your poison and then attack it. Because I don't think there's any way to attack all these things all at once. And so from that perspective, I found this real world likelihood of this test and quite amazing. That was probably what made it as efficient as it was. In this case, I'm showing you a tool called Marina, which is a real world spear phishing solution. These days, I'm sure you can go to GitHub to download it. It probably makes the old versions, the Kali Linuxes, the Metasploits, and all those, they are still doing their thing, and Modlishkas, and they are still beautiful. But it seems this is the latest, greatest version of them all combined for automating the spear phishing attacks. So you need to keep on top of these things as a red team so that you can at least think about how to defend against them. And these things are completely real world. That's one of the things that MITRE ATT&CK has on its face. Are you real world enough? Well, actually, that's their definition. If an attack is not real world, it cannot be a MITRE ATT&CK technique. So by focusing your efforts on MITRE ATT&CK techniques, I know for sure that we did the right thing for the product because we made it more open and more, probably not the product itself, but the people, the R&D team that focuses on the product felt 10 times better. They were doing something right for the benefit of the world. So that was the turning moment for us. The MITRE ATT&CK actually made us feel that we could do this. There was light at the end of the tunnel, and we could turn our ideas into reality by using that MITRE ATT&CK as our Rosetta Stone, if you will. So I may be having some delay here, but this is, yes, the first thing we decided to do was creating red and blue teams. And that was probably the funnest moment. To be honest, I thought my team would be more interested in just becoming red team and nobody would want to be blue team. No, it was almost like a natural decision. Everybody, I guess, feels different about whether being on the blue teams or the right or left side of the equation. It's a preference that anybody can make, and I'm okay with that. So that was almost like an aha moment for me to see that anybody can participate in this in our content team, and they can choose whichever they want. And again, this is the Azure network that our skills were tested in. It was a full-blown, I guess, victim organization one on the left top, and on the bottom left, there's a second victim organization with the Linux servers and Windows domain controllers and whatnot. This is important that I show you this because we attended another training in order to learn a lot of things from by almost trying to decide how to communicate our package, communicate our efforts openly to the world so that the world could learn from this test, because anyone can download our correlation rules and see what we did, how we did. And while doing that, we found out that Black Hills Security, which is a very good security training, on, along with SANS, because we also went to SANS for these types of trainings as well, which I will talk about in a second. But during those trainings, we learned that having an Active Directory GPO to do automatic configurations on the Windows endpoints was critical to do that process level auditing to be enabled, the sysmons being configured to the perfect XML file, however you like to configure it, but making sure that all the endpoints have the exact same configuration. The connectors, the agents, and all those log files, the locations of the log files was important. And we found out that my team did not know much about Active Directory GPOs. They actually thought local security policy was a better decision to be, again, this is one of that brutal truths. And then I found out, Active Directory was a 2000 thingy. That's when we learned in Windows from Mark Minasi's Windows 2000 Unleashed and Mastering books. That was one of the aha moments. You can be a good attack or defend person, but some of these basics are quite important to know, and because you are doing a mass change. So the talent, each person in the team, for example, in this case, we went to another team who was really good in Active Directory, but who had no clue how to do attack and defend. So that team was very useful for us. So what I'm trying to say here is you almost never know what type of knowledge will really help you to cross over and to the other side and learn, almost like earn that degree, earn that badge so that you can take it to the next level. So I guess humans, again, this is important. This is from Commodore 64 days. If the tape didn't load, something like this would come on the screen. So that, but again, this is why I'm showing this is it wasn't always sunshine and unicorns, because we were almost having a trick in this contest by thinking that we could deploy Bro Zeek IDS, and we could do that in the Azure network using the network security group NSG flow logs, the PCAP files. We had a connector for it. Everything was sunshine and unicorns up until the very last moment where Azure or the networking decided not to work. And I'm not putting the blame on anything here. It's just life. And a whole bunch of correlation rules didn't work because we didn't have the log files. This is in production. And we did everything we could. We couldn't fix it. It didn't happen in our test lab, but it did happen in production. So things can and they will go wrong. Murphy was an optimist. So that's why actually we knew things like this would happen. And that's why we talked to our team or our decision makers before entering this contest. Hey, 100% detection of these 66 techniques may not be too realistic. So get ready for the honest truth, okay? That was that probably, turning moment for us, and we were okay with that. We knew things could go wrong because this was the first time us as a SIEM vendor, heck, a true SIEM vendor for the first time was entering such a contest. So that was that acceptance for us. 100% detection may not happen, and we are more than okay with that because we'd like to use this as a teaching for the community so that we can take our powers to the next level. Again, the time bomb became our best friend. The moment the time bomb started ticking, that's when my team came up with, I believe, 270 plus JIRAs. In the R&D world, we have a thing called JIRA, and I went to maybe a 1-week vacation in June because we decided to do this in May, I believe. And then when I came back, we had this JIRA's links from left to right. The R&D team was completely all over this, which gave me goosebumps when I saw this. And so rocket scientists are amazing people, but ease of use is better. This is critical. And each team has a rocket scientist. There's no question about that. Everybody is really good in something. But if you cannot make this packaged properly so that even your mom can deploy this, even anyone else who has maybe a little bit of knowledge with computers, and that's it. Because let's face it, right? That's the new truth. We have the talent shortage is the problem, and bad guys are real human, the adversaries. You can make the best software, but your best bet to defend against today's adversaries is real people. And those real people are probably recent graduates from university. They probably need a little bit of training, and then they will have the mouse and keyboard, and they will sit down and do their thing. So perhaps we should only give them a 1 week of MITRE ATT&CK training so that they learn the overall what's going on, and then they start their level 1 SOC analyst career journey, and then maybe becoming a hunt person later on, so that we can keep them interested in life, so that they don't leave after 12, or if you're lucky, 18 months, because that's generally what the surveys say. A SOC is quite a problematic place where anybody, regardless of the money, wants to change their job and go somewhere else because of the stress that is involved. So in order to make this easier, get that stress from these folks, we try to focus on the ease of use, perhaps a little bit too much, at the expense of not having more rules to detect more stuff, because we wanted to make it more consumable. So that was that balancing act that we learned, one of the lessons learned by entering this contest. Red team has its own benefits, and I admire them. The blue team is quite powerful, and they take pride in what they do, which is what I found by showing almost my team grow in front of me. I didn't know that this would come out. I thought for a little while when we decided to enter this thing, perhaps I was alone in believing that we should enter this contest. Perhaps my team won't get what I'm trying to do. No, that was not the case. They completely, maybe 2 or 3 people red teams, another 2 or 3 people blue team. They did this more than the red team A, red team B, more than a couple red teams, more than a couple blue teams, and then they had a leader at the top. And purple teaming was really good. And MITRE ATT&CK, in my opinion, the unfair advantage for the red teams back in the day, if you really are a red teamer, you will probably understand what I'm saying here. You had all those tools in your power, right? The PowerShell empire, the evil Genex, all these, the Veil framework, good stuff, right? And you almost have Cobalt Strike. This is an important, brutal truth, another brutal truth here. We actually wanted to get a copy of Cobalt Strike for our own red team. And I did send an email to Cobalt Strike because it's an official company. I don't think anyone on this call would guess the answer, but the answer reply that we got was, no, you are a reverse engineer. I don't think they answered exactly it with those words, but I can almost read their mind. The answer was, no, we cannot sell this tool to you. And I could almost reverse engineer that answer by guessing they probably meant, hey, you are a SIEM vendor. You probably will try to create rules to catch this Cobalt Strike attack methods. So no, there's no way we can give it to you. That doesn't mean we didn't have our own metasploits and other techniques to become Cobalt Strike. But what I'm trying to say is, generally, it's a bad world, and it's easier for the bad guys to get their tools, and because of all the dark webs and other things. In my opinion, MITRE ATT&CK turned the favor a little bit to the blue team because it made it easier to discuss the attacks. If CO2, CO3, O2 are all these things that you want to protect yourself against. I know I'm referring to the oxygen molecule here. By only focusing on the oxygen molecule, you can almost slow down CO2 attacks, CO attacks, CO3 attacks. That's that, I guess, with one single stone, you're killing multiple birds. That's that advantage of the MITRE ATT&CK. By focusing on that one technique, I'm not saying it's easy to focus on a technique, but at least it makes you easy. It makes your team easier to focus. Hey, you get these 5, you get these 5. everybody knows what they are supposed to do. And as opposed to being tool-centric, now they can plug the filter-based hose. Back in the day, I used to focus on tipping point, and we were always talking about filters versus signatures, and filters were a little bit better. I'm not trying to bring up that discussion again here, but almost like that, you're covering multiple holes with a single defense. That's the advantage of MITRE ATT&CK, I found myself. Again, long story short here, the main benefit, in my opinion, was that the customers won. Sure, that's nice, but the team won even better. We thought that, yes, we could do this as a team, and if we unite together, nothing can bring us down. And the team felt 10 times more stronger. We started having our chat groups inside. Yes, we use them as Teams and all that. But no, the periodicity, the frequency of the chat messages, the email messages, photos, people started working out. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but if it was needed, they started working longer hours to get the right stuff done. They enjoyed doing what they were doing. That was the joy moment that I think we brought, and that brought the team together. We felt that we were doing something, not just for the product, not just for the customers, but also for the world by opening this up. And that we felt quite united as a result. Something that we haven't felt for a while. And I'm not sure, I believe I removed Justin Henderson from the slide by mistake. He was actually giving us that belief that, yes, we could do this if we focused on it. And he runs the SANS 555 training, amazing training. You just listen to that free version on SANS website, you'll see what I mean. And he gave us that courage as well. SIEMs, when configured correctly, can become your tactical weapon and not just, a compliance monitoring solution. And we try to put all those similar videos on our YouTube channel as well. And again, quite useful in my opinion, showing our journey on how we reach this level. And that's about it actually. And you can Google it, ArcSight Unplugged, to understand even more on this topic. So with that, thank you. And I will go back to the Slack and try to answer any questions there.
Thanks a lot, Emrah. There's we have a few more minutes before introducing our next speaker. So a couple of questions. Just wanted to throw them out there. I actually pinned them in the channel, but there was one on the John McCash asked, heard you mention that you could download correlation rules. So I was wondering if you could get some more detail about that.
Amazing
another question on specifically some connectors, I think, for SCCM. So if you you can also respond to them in Slack, but there's a few there that we pinned.
Nice, I will do that. The easy answer to that is ESM. If you Google that term, ESM, almost like Enterprise Security Manager, default content, or maybe put the word ArcSight in front, ArcSight ESM default content. If you Google that, you will land on a page that starts with microfocus.com. That is the location where we put the ARB file, but you can, there's a PDF in there which is human readable, which describes the log sources that we used. But if you don't have ArcSight installed, deciphering that file, even though it is not encrypted, it's an XML file, you can right-click and almost read it in a text editor, probably opening that up even further so that it's more human-friendly in terms of reading, which I will promise right now to do, let's say in the next couple of weeks, so that it's there as a secondary PDF that makes it easier for us humans to read it as well, unless you have ArcSight, which is where you can import it and see the whole thing yourself easier anyway.